Tess and I have had fun just kind of downloading what God's been sharing with us and trying to make sense of, not make sense, but just trying to get into our spirits for what it means for now. Because we went on a family trip. It was for our family. We didn't go on a church trip. We weren't conferencing. I wasn't over there to try and see how many times I could preach in America. I only preached once in 6 weeks. And even then I was rusty because I'd been taking time off, And so really the trip was for our family. And yet when you're about family, God likes to speak because he's a father. And so I found like when you prioritize the elements of family, the father's voice can sometimes seem a little bit louder. And that's true of a church community too. When you value the relationships within a church community, when you honor one another as brothers and sisters, not as somebody that just showed up and is part of a Linc membership, but they're brothers and sisters, different backgrounds, different stories. Blood of Christ brings us together. And when you have a deep revelation of that world, the Father seems to speak louder because he likes it when we see one another as family. And so I could speak so much about the stories I had. Lana, just remind me. I want to tell you something cool after this that'll bless your heart. But some amazing stories. So Tess, stories that'll shape us. Let's start with you, one or two more, and hopefully it'll bless you guys just in everyday life.
Okay. It's really such an honor to be here again and share these. Like Dill said, it's such, God really does speak in the ordinary, everyday life. I think one of the things that saddens me most in this beautiful story of Jesus on the earth in the church is when people truly believe that God doesn't speak to them. Because they just perhaps don't know how he speaks, and I am a firm believer that he does speak in the ordinary, in the everyday. He can speak through your car trip or your family holiday,
or broken trailer,
and that's just because he's good, and he's not trying to trick us and make it hard. He wants to speak to us. And so this trip was amazing because when you put yourself in some space and declutter a little bit, it creates room for God, for the voice of God to just feel a bit louder. And so there were just many moments where I felt him remind me of that this call that we have is not going to be comfortable. That he's calling us to something that's big and beautiful. And robust, and there's a part of that is uncomfortable, and calling is not supposed to be comfortable. And I saw that in getting on a plane with 4 kids. I don't know if any of you have done that. It's special. It's really quite something when 3 out of 4 of them are vomiting. In the line where you're now supposed to be telling them why you're going to be an asset to America in the next 6 weeks. And so there are those moments that are just deeply and wildly uncomfortable. And yet, in that moment, there was still this resounding thing, and I believe it is the voice of God, I hope it is that it's worthwhile to take your children on the journey, even when they're vomiting in the immigration queue. And when they are, experiencing motion sickness, and when they are trying to cross streets, but they forget that actually you have to look, because cars drive across streets everywhere in the world, and it's important to make sure that you don't get hit by a car. And so there were those kind of moments that were uncomfortable, but I was just reminded again and again that it is... nothing worthwhile is easy. And
nothing easy is worthwhile.
Yes, basically. So we should just, hard is holy. I like that. I've always said that. Like God is calling us as a people to do hard and holy things. And taking your children on the journey is hard and it's holy. And I'm just grateful for the moments where we got to, there's so many stories, and perhaps we'll talk more about this idea of taking our children on the journey or taking our families on the journey. But the reality is that we learn best as people, as children. We are all children. We learn best not really through the rules and regulations, if we're honest. Because we're told, I actually listened to a brilliant sermon this morning on the way here by Rory Dyer, and he was making just this distinction about the law and grace, and how he watched something happen with one of his sons, with the school they were at, and they're told for 5 years, you can't drink and you can't smoke at school, which obviously You should not do that. It's unhelpful. And we need rules because otherwise there is lawlessness. But the first thing those boys did when they matriculated, drove out the gates, was crack the champagne and light a cigar. So he said, like, the rules and regulations are actually, they are there for a purpose, but they're actually quite ineffective. We learn and we grow and we mature best when we watch and we clean and we hear the voice of God and we get revelation. And children get that, I believe, when they're in close proximity to parents, to family.
It's so interesting you say that. We hadn't chatted about this today, but it's interesting because there were so many times on this trip where the older kids specifically, they're getting a bit older and, life's kind of making more sense maybe. They would say to me, hey, Dad, is this why? It's like they've suddenly clicked what's been going on for like 16, 15 years of their lives in the home with guidelines and boundaries and, hey, you should try this, don't do that, this won't work. And now you're in this journey and they're close proximity to us and they're going, oh, is that why you've always said, or is that why these people don't? And so it's true. Things are caught, not taught. That's really powerful and true all the time. I told a story up in Hilton about BlueCruise. If you were in Hilton, you'll know my story, and I'll tell it again because it was a fun one. We hired a car. Did I tell this at open house last week? So we hired a car, and the car, obviously, we get on the highway. We had a choice of 3 big cars. We got 6 people in our family. There's only so many cars that can, fit 6 people and luggage. So we hired like a big car, and we had 3 choices of big car. We had a silver Chevy Tahoe. We had a Toyota, I still forget the name, but it's not the Cruiser. There's actually a bigger one than that. Can you believe it? They're bigger cars than you drive here, guys. So you don't win the prize here. There's another prize that somebody else got. But there was a white Toyota, and then there was a black Ford Expedition, which is like the Everest times 10. And so there were the cars, and the guy said to me, which one do you want? And I just wanted a black car. It didn't matter which brand it was. I wanted the black car. Anyway, so I chose the black car, and it turns out that the Ford Expedition has this thing called BlueCruise. So we're on the highway driving from where we're staying just up the coast in Florida. We're with Daryl and Janine Massey. We've just caught up with them. We're going to go to a place on the coastline together, and we're all chatting, and the car's buzzing, and I'm driving on the highway, getting my way around different side of the highway and, multiple lanes and getting all that stuff right. And my dashboard starts flashing, BlueCruise available, BlueCruise available. Now, the guy at the kiosk that asked me which color I wanted didn't tell me the features it offered. So now I'm thinking, BlueCruise, this sounds epic. It's not just cruise, it's BlueCruise, So anyway, I hit the button, bang, and it's cruise control, which helps there because, everyone's using cruise control. So this BlueCruise, though, I feel it tighten up. Like the car tightens up, so I realize it's not just cruise control, it's got lane assist. So, some of you guys are like, yeah, we got that too. Cool. We got lane assist. I got cruise control. And then I noticed that the car in front of me slows down, and my car kind of slows down with it. So it's obviously got that kind of like, whatever you call that, safety mechanism in it. So I'm like, this is pretty cool because that helps me drive at the right speed in America. So this is all winning. And then it says, hands-free, hands-free, hands-free. We don't got that. Half of America don't got that. And so this thing's flashing hands-free, and I'm holding the steering wheel, and I'm like, you got to be kidding. Now, Daryl, Janine, and my family are catching up on life, so there's a lot of stuff happening in the car while I'm enjoying this little moment. And I look in the rearview mirror just to see if anyone's aware of what I'm about to do, and they are totally oblivious. They're just trusting me. And I just gradually take my hands off the steering wheel, like very hesitantly, to be honest. But I want to see, like, if it says hands-free, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, why stare at a blessing? And so I take my hands off the steering wheel, and I feel it kind of hold itself, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I take them a bit further back, and we're heading into a corner, and there's traffic. I can see on Google there's an orange section. We're heading into traffic. And so we're heading into this corner at pace, 65 miles an hour, and I got to have my hands on the wheel, and I just wait, and I watch, and I wait, and I watch, and it slows down into the corner, then it speeds up out the corner, and it's just hands-free. The steering wheel just doing its thing, And so I kind of do one of these. And I smile to myself. No one else knows where I'm at yet. And I can see slowly they're realizing Daryl's in the passenger seat, and he's kind of like checking me out, wondering what the game plan is here. And I say, hey, guys, now I realize it works. So I literally turn around in the car. I'm like, hey, guys, watch what's going to happen. Like, we're literally going to keep driving, and it's going to drive for us. Like, watch this. And they're like, Dad, hold the thing. I'm like, trust me. And so I told this story, and it was pretty cool. I clocked 7 hours of hands-free driving. Our road trip was 9 hours from Nashville to Dallas. I clocked 7 without my hands on the wheel. It sped up when it needed to speed up. It slowed down when it needed to slow down. If you were going past a big truck on the highway, by the way, we're doing just fine. Our highways are full of trucks, so there's good news is we're doing fine, South Africa. But if you're going past a big truck, the BlueCruise actually, you can see on the dashboard, it pushes you slightly wide of the truck to make a safe pass. Just like this. And I'm just like, oh, here we go, going around the truck. And so what it does is, there's one little thing I'm not telling you about BlueCruise. It's got a little sensor on the dashboard that's looking at my eyes. And so what it's making sure of is that I'm kind of always somewhere attentive. So I would look off to the landscape on the side, which driving you never get to do. It was such a privilege. So I would kind of have my arms crossed and be looking at, oh, that's beautiful. Didn't get to see it. Everyone's talking about it, never saw it. Looking that side, I would chat to the kids. I would turn around and get some beef jerky, which is a distant second to biltong. I'll just be honest, America. But I would get, I'd just get a snack, and I would have a snack, and I'd jump on my phone, and I'd send a message. And if I was spent too much time looking at the side or behind me, I'd just get this, deet, 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 deet. And it was just like hey, turn around, get your eyes on the road. And so I would do it. And then it would go quiet, and off we would go again. And then I would chat, so I'd get on my phone. And this happened repetitively. I tested it the one time. I got quite into this thing, by the way. And I tested it at the one time, and I thought, I had glasses on, and I thought, I wonder if it can see what my eyes are doing behind these glasses. So I literally, everyone else in the car is having a sleep. I'm like, I'm going to have a sleep. I know it can drive itself, but I want to see if it wakes me up. I'm not worried about sleeping. I'm worried about whether or not it's going to wake me up. So I do one of these. And I wait. I'm like, it doesn't know I'm sleeping. I'm going to have a little half an hour sleep in the car. I was that excited about it. And true as it goes, deet, 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 deet. It saw my eyes behind the glasses. So I told the story up in Hilton, and I tell you it because it's a fun story. But I told it because God obviously speaks to me through these kind of things and just reminds me, hey, the goal in life is not to hold the wheel. It's just to keep your eyes on the road. Our privilege is to hold our eyes up on Him. Fix our gaze on Him. That's our joy. That's our privilege. That's why worship matters. It's not to hold the wheel and tell Him where we're going. And you know, it's just one of those moments where, as we're driving, I'm thinking like, this is so true of my life. I wonder how many people would have ever let go of that steering wheel and realized the privilege of not having to be in control. So many would have just held on. Whatever, BlueCruise, I like to drive. I'm sure you do. And therein you lose sight of the view. You don't have to have a chat. You can't think straight because you're so. And all it was for me was just this moment of God going, just keep your eyes on the road ahead. I got you covered. I got lane assist. I got the Spirit of God driving you. He knows what He's doing. Many are the plans of a man's heart. I'm going left, God. But the Lord directs His steps. I want to drive. Perhaps this is not how I want to drive. I want to drive like this. I want to drive with my hands held open, my heart fixed in heaven, and the Spirit of God shifting me where I need to go. So I would guess, to add value to you today, outside of it being a fun story, I would ask you, where are you holding on? That could look like not telling some of the story that you're going through because, you know, if I let go and tell that story, this car's going to crash. It won't. The Spirit of God is too kind. He will not let you crash. Perhaps it's whatever. It could be anything. It could be releasing some financial pressure that you have to God. It could be releasing friendship pressure that you have to God. It could be releasing marriage pressure. There's so many ways you can view that thing, but you'll know whether you're in BlueCruise or not. You'll know whether you're trying to make this car go where it needs to go, or whether you really are trusting God for Him to know what to do in that next corner. And this trip for me was, BlueCruise became the theme of my trip. Every time we went into another corner, I would just smile and go, God, what other corners in my life do I need to let go? And so, yeah, it was a pretty cool moment. And I sometimes feel like if we hold our plans, I wrote this down, if we hold our plans too tightly, it's like we miss the rush of heaven. You know, just the sheer joy of knowing that heaven has us in His hands, you know. It's just something that I would invite you to consider. Yeah.
You've been hearing us say this from our platform for the last couple of months, but Psalm 27 says, one thing I ask the Lord, this is what I seek, that I would dwell in the house, Lord, all of the days of my life, gaze upon his beauty in his temple. And I love this story with BlueCruise because the invitation is for the eyes to be on him, just to gaze upon him. And that a lot of this trip for me really was an opportunity just to gaze again and be reminded that he's got it. Like he's got it. He's God. He's in control. He's good. He knows what he's doing. And actually, when I get involved and I hold too tightly to the steering wheel, not only do I miss out on some of the joy of the journey, but oftentimes I mess it up. And I don't want to keep messing it up for the rest of my days. I've still got a beautiful long life ahead of me, I hope. And so that really was something. This story is powerful because I think it gives us a really very clear, confronting picture of what it looks like for many followers of Jesus on the earth.
And to be fair, just to encourage you, like distractions come. Spirit of God.
Yeah, he's so good.
Every now and again, perhaps you do fall asleep or grow numb or, let's stretch the analogy a little bit. Grow weary in your faith or whatever it is, and your eyes start to close and dim and you just want out. It's just this gentle reminder that all I want is your eyes on me. I'm not worried that you get distracted. I'm not worried that now and again, you close your eyes, fall asleep, or disappear from the everyday demands of life. I just want you to know that when I stir it, that you gaze again. Is
and
what
it was
happens.
funny, there were times where Till would be like, just be quiet. I'm looking at the view. But that beeping was faithful to go off when his eyes did not look at the road. And it's a great story.
It hated me being on my phone, I'll tell you that much. So I don't know if there's a spirit-led wisdom in that. It hated my phone. It was denying me my social fix, you know what I mean?
So good.
So maybe that's something for somebody.
So good.
Maybe another story.
Another story. We spoke about last week. Dylan said what moments perhaps for us were powerful, and I made the statement, "I like us." He's like, "Oh, I like that. We're going to turn it into a podcast." So we're going to do that. But I think a great story for me was just how the ordinary things that you grow familiar with in your surroundings, often the very beautiful things that in marriage I'm talking about, that make us who we are. And not to take those for granted, to the fact that you can make me laugh. Like, he's a really funny guy. And that...
It's actually easy if you just get stuff wrong all the time. That's the simplest way to keep people around you joyful. It's just to not get it right.
Very funny guy. And just to appreciate that. And I'll never forget, there were years ago sitting with someone, we had been walking through a journey in our marriage, just trying to figure out if we want to be married. I know perhaps you guys all have never been through something like that, but we had a stage in our life where we really had to ask the question, what does our future look like? And this person said, go back to why did you like him? Like, what was it about him that was so appealing? Go back to that, because that's still there. And so in this trip, it wasn't like we went there struggling or needed help, but these things just kind of bubbled up. The fact that this guy is hilarious, and he makes me laugh, and he makes life fun, and the spontaneity is good for the rule follower test. And there is just a lot of him that makes me feel alive. And someone said recently, like, when you meet someone, when you meet the right person, they will make you fall in love with them. They will make you fall in love with yourself, and they'll make you fall in love with life. And I love that. And I think this trip helped me see again that marriage is really beautiful and it's really blessed. But it needs space to breathe.
Good.
Like, sometimes the life and the kids and the family and the pressure and the finance and the houses and the things actually suffocate the life of God in marriage. And our privilege, I think, together is to create space so that we can breathe together, so that life can flow. And that's what I felt on this trip. You can't go to Disneyland with this guy and not be entertained. And if there's this like unwritten goal in the world that you should try and walk 30,000 steps a day, he's gonna make you do it. And I love that. I love that. I love that he pulls me out of my comfort zone and gives me new things to explore. And I would ask, what is that in your marriage? Like, where's the laugh? How do you create breathing room for one another? Because there is laugh there.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't really know what stories to
What's
tell.
interesting about what you're saying, though, is that we were actually living in a fairly confined space, all six of us together for 6 weeks.
Very.
So to say, I just, as you're talking, I'm thinking, that's so strange. It's so like God, because the chances of you feeling spacious in a confined space doesn't make sense, you know. But it's not about the confinements around you. It's actually about the, you know, what you're discovering and the joy, and you realize sometimes you actually try and get distance from each other. It's the last thing you need. It's actually, you need to learn to find the joy in the. So yeah, that was something quite exciting. I did learn random fact, and some of you will never think about this again. I learned about a thing, and only 2-3 people in the room would know what this is, called butterbeer, right? Butterbeer, it's not an alcoholic beer for my friends online. If you're listening to this right now, it is a thing from Harry Potter. It's this like signature kind of thing in Harry Potter. Anyway, and so my kids had motion sickness the whole trip. I drank a butterbeer and couldn't go on the next 5 rides. Because when you overindulge in something you've never experienced before, it can put you on the pause button for just a moment. But if you've never heard about butterbeer, I'm just helping you out, guys. This is a random fact in the middle of a leadership talk. You should try it.
Might have also been the simulated roller coaster that you went on just before the butterbeer, but also.
It could have been. We had a simple rule. You don't get to say no to coasters unless we decide that this is not essential. And so it was. Yeah, so rules are good.
I was like the coaster coach. Oh my gosh, it was exhausting.
I actually found out something about Tess I never knew on this trip. This is part of the joys of our marriage. She is way more of an adrenaline junkie than I am. I promise you. We went on rides that guys have said, like, that's a 5 out of 5, and, you should just prep your kids for it and whatever. And so we just did the rides. Well, I'll be honest, like, I wouldn't have lined up another 10 of those. I just did them because I was in Disney and you just can't say no. She was like, what's next? I'm like, I don't know about you, Tess. You're kind of unassuming at the best of times, but her and Mackenzie were our biggest daredevils of the trip. Like, who would have thought, So you never know what's inside the people around you until you put yourself in a different environment. So, okay, I want to maybe speak about something more practical as well. A lot of stuff happened to me when I was driving, or not driving.
You're all sleeping.
Or not driving, depending how you look at it. But when I was checking out these speed limits, I would reset my BlueCruise to the speed limits every time I went through a new marker. And the one day we were sitting with some friends, probably a week into the trip, and I said, like, hey, how does this speed limit thing work over here? Like in South Africa, we push our limits a bit. We normally have a bit of leeway. At least we think we do. Like, what's the vibe here? Because America it's not lawless. And I just don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to be paying fines in dollars. That's the simplicity of my question. How do I avoid fines but get where I'm going quicker? So the guy said to me, oh, no, don't worry about the speed limit. Like, that's not even like a thing here. I'm like, what do you mean it's not a thing? It's all over the roads. Oh, we don't really worry about that here. What we worry about is flow. So what a traffic cop, and this became true over time, right? Because obviously now I'm pushing the limits and understanding if there's any repercussions. And the speed limit is all around the flow of traffic, not the speed of your car. And so the highway sign might say 65 miles. My BlueCruise is sitting at 80. But I'm at a perfect distance from the guy in front, who's at a perfect distance from the guy in front, and you get the picture. And we would drive past cops with, things, radars and all that. Non-event. One guy weaves. He can go slow, fast, he can choose what he wants to do. If he does not honor the flow of that traffic and weaves, boo! And so again, I'm looking at this going, this is fascinating. Okay, number one, all of us have a weaving issue. But it made me realize some of those things you see in practical life is actually the way we are wired, even spiritually sometimes, to weave. I want to get where I'm going, so I'm going to hit the fast lane, then hit the slow lane, and then I'm going to doot, then I'm going to flash this guy. None of that happened. In fact, what would happen was quite interesting is if you were in the fast lane sitting at this perfect distances, and a guy in the slow lane was going to come out, if I was the slow lane, let's say, the guy here would just patiently wait for me to join the line. Like, imagine that world. But it was quite amazing to think like, there's no pressure on me. I'm just in the flow of traffic. And I can go slow if I want, or I can go quick if I want. I just can't weave if I want. It's not my privilege to decide how I get to drive on this road. There's a certain flow here. And I realized the same, again, God teaching me stuff around leadership. It's not so much about the speed you're at. It's whether or not you're in the flow of what's going on. So often we try and force the pace. People aren't at our pace, so we try and force the pace. Or perhaps we're having a really hard day, so we slowed right down, and now we're actually a blockage on the highway. Like the person in the slow lane that you're just desperate to push eject on. Let's be honest, it's like, how did they even get on the highway? Well, there you don't have that option, because if you are slowing down the flow of traffic, even if you're going under the limit, boo! You're a hazard to us because you're actually obstructing the flow. Fast lane is speeding, but they're in the flow. Does it make sense to you? And so I wrote some stuff down because I also wanted to be helpful to everybody today around this speed trap thing, all right? The focus should be the flow. So when it comes to faith, I think our focus should be around where's the flow? Not what I want out of today, or what didn't I achieve yesterday, or, what's going on in our church community? Yeah. Where's the grace? I've used examples like JD stepping into campus and Gibbs stepping into worship, and there's this flow over Gibbs. There's this ease that he steps into that space. And so I just come into alignment with it. He can go as fast as he wants or as slow as he wants. I'm going to get in that flow. When I lead with vision, some of you might, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't want to forget. It doesn't matter how fast you like to travel in the faith journey, so long as you're actually slotting into the flow of what God is doing in his house and not blocking it. Yeah. Okay, so a few things. Working with others toward a common good. Like, I don't like the way they're doing it. Well, I want them to do it like this. Or I wish we could do it like this. Or we haven't built what we wanted by the age of. All these kind of things we think. That's a speed-related question. You're living by almost like subconscious rules as to where you should be in life or shouldn't be in life based on expectations of everybody around you. Rather just get in the flow. Where are you at? What's going on? How do you keep marriage healthy? How do you make a good next financial decision? How do you honor the church in the journey that, all these type of things. Sometimes it means speeding up. Sometimes it means slowing down. The focus is the flow. We're in a season of church now, and I can say this with confidence, we're speeding up. We're busy building around our campus. It adds pressure. It adds intensity. And so the best thing we can do is just get in that flow. Just go with it. Villy's busy working on some stuff around Wonderland. My dad and the guys are busy working on the parking, and it can feel like traffic's moving. Things are changing. Hey, rather than just choosing how you show up, just okay, I'm going to get in the flow. I'm going to honor that flow. I'm going to enjoy that flow. Watch what happens to the world around you when you actually just learn to flow with the traffic. It's pretty powerful. Faith is not about rigid rules, but about holding the flow of his grace. I really do believe that. It's really not about rigid rules. Hey, this is how my faith should be, therefore that's how your faith should be. It's actually learning to go with the ebbs and flows. Jesus said this, learn the unforced rhythms of grace. You can be flying at 85 miles an hour and feel completely safe. You can be traveling at 20 and feel the danger of your life. And so you got to just know where's the flow, where's the rhythm. And sometimes, can I be honest with you, this is what it means for people with appetite for more. When you shift lanes, let's say, and I'll maybe close with this, when you shift lanes, you're almost associating with a different group of people with a different appetite for life. Not right or wrong, just different flow. And so if you've got appetite for more, don't hover around people that want less. You're all going to get frustrated, and it's going to end up with relationships that are under pressure. Rather just ease yourself into the flow of, or company of, or table of people that are already traveling at a certain speed. Watch how quickly you get where you desire to go when you just surround yourself with the right people in your lane. And of course, don't be in the fast lane if you're in a slow season. It's just good practical wisdom from speed traps and, whatever you can say. So Galatians 5 says it like this, since we live by the Spirit, let's keep in step with it. Yeah. Since we've been given this gift of his presence which leads us, hey, I want you to go and have a coffee with them. Hey, I want you to honor them. Hey, I want you to unlock this toward them. Hey, I want you to serve. I want you to be generous. So, Spirit of God, just leading. Let us not choose now to live by flesh. All right, God, I'm going to take the wheel back. I'm going to choose how I drive in this. Let's let the Spirit lead the charge. Amen?
Amen.
It's really powerful. in Galatians 6, another scripture that maybe speaks to this. Galatians, a lot around what I'm speaking about. But like Galatians 6 says, pay careful attention to your own work. Then you won't need to compare yourself to everyone else. For each of us is responsible for our own conduct. So I'm in the middle lane. I shift into the fast lane. I increase my speed, and I honor this lane. I'm not worried about what the person in the slow lane should or shouldn't be doing. I can take this analogy as deep as you want it to go. I'm telling you right now, we have issues with speed. Not that we drive too fast, but that we drive according to our own expectations. And there's a flow of God's grace in the house and in life and in relationships. I really do believe that the flow of His grace is in relationships and rhythms, not in rules and regulations or rules and results. And so we have to shift out the lane of rules and results, and we have to shift into the lanes of rhythms and relationships. When you honor the traffic on the road, we all get where we're going safely. Choose your lane, honor the people, and we'll all get where we need to go safely. And so maybe I'll just leave you with that. Anything else you want to say before we pray, babes?
So just something to encourage you with. I was thinking of the story when we were driving. One of the things we'd let the kids do is they could watch on their iPads for a length of the trip. But as we came into somewhere new, if it was a new state, a new city, everyone had to put their devices down, and we had to all pay attention and look and learn and all things. Anyway, so we were driving. I can't remember exactly where I was. I think it was when we were moving from Florida to Alabama, yes, to the lake. And I was like, hey guys, iPad's down. Let's have a look. What can you see? And we started talking about it. And Joel is looking to the left. And he's like, I see nothing. I don't know where we're going. This is boring. And we're all looking to the right. And we're like, wow, this lake is incredible. This is just such a privilege. Like, can you see? And he's like, I can't see anything. And I'm like, boy, just look right. Just turn your head and look the other way and you'll see it. And it really, the privilege of being part of a church, of being part of the body of Christ, is that we can be that for one another. Sometimes we're all looking, or someone's looking to the left, and all they need is a saint to come alongside them and say, you're just looking in the wrong direction. Could you shift your head to the right and see the opportunity and the beauty and the grace and the privilege of what lies ahead of you? And so I just, Dill had said, tell us something about what you learned about being a part of church. I just want to say, we really are part of the genius of God on the planet. Amen. The sons and daughters of God, and we can be really something profound for one another if we can help each other look in the direction of the things of God, the promises and the plans that He has for us, and not get caught up on what's just on the left.
Amen. Let's stand. Hopefully fun stories. Next week I'll move into some leadership around Noah's life. But hopefully some fun stories can just remind us, like Tess started, that God does speak in the detail of every day.
He does.
And just as we stand in the room, there's actually a lot of us here in open house today. And so we fill Sundays and we fill Hilton and we fill the future. Because God's adding to His church. Church's not getting smaller, it's getting bigger. But that we can continue just to honor the relationships of the people we stand alongside. Just appreciate just the genius of God bringing different gifts alongside us.
Yeah.
Each of my children, people often tell me 4 kids, 4 completely different personalities, and it's true. Our kids are all so unique, and God showed up for them in each of their own unique ways, and He will for us too. And let's be those in the room that allow for God's rhythm and grace to find the gifts that are in this house that we can't see because we're still so stuck on results and driving at our speed or forcing our agenda, or whatever it is. And let's just let that go. So let go of the wheel. Let go of our preference and say, actually, God, I want to be a part of this movement, this unstoppable movement of your grace, of you rescuing people from stories that they could never have got themselves out of, and just putting us in the flow of your grace in the local church. And imagine what it would look like as we as a people started to use the traffic analogy, just started to flow with just purpose and ease and all these kind of things. And so that's what I'm going to pray for.
So good.
That whether it's in business, Father, I just ask whether it's in business, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in parenting, perhaps even just interpersonal relationships in this house amongst each other. Even in the church, God, as we serve you. I ask, God, that you would just gently take our hands off the wheel, where it is that we're holding too tightly, that you would just ease us into a posture of surrender and rest. Spirit of God, that you would just breathe your peace over us when it's hard and we don't know what's next and the corner seems sharp and we're not sure you can take it for us. I just ask, God, that you could, by your grace, just ease our hands off the wheel. And God, help us to see the lane we're running in this season. Help us to see the lane you've called us to. Help us to see the gifts we carry for this moment and this time. God, help us to identify the people that you've asked us to run with in this season, to honor, to walk alongside, to appreciate. Help us to see those, God, that you've asked us perhaps to even distance ourselves from. And in your grace, God, you know that you're always moving us to what you have for us. And so, God, I just pray for each of us, again, in business and marriage and relationships and parenting, just to gently move us into the lane and the season and the life that you've called us to right now. And to empower us to, with your grace and freedom, say yes. Say yes to the open roads, the open highways, the new surroundings, God, the views that are all around us that we perhaps haven't seen for a while. God, I just thank you that as you ease us into this, as you lead us into this, I thank you for just expansive views of your church, God. Great dreams to come alive even. I pray for a blessed week. Pray for this weekend as we launch into a Nehemiah series on building, God. Just align us with your heart. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.